up your sleeves, pour yourself another drink, because this is Off the Cuff.
Cheers, everyone. Your regular hosts, as always, are back again with a great flick. My name is Kyle.
I'm Dan.
And this week we'll be talking about a pretty interesting movie. I think this is something that people may have seen already, but we're just going to talk about it now, and that is Kong Skull Island. Kong as in King Kong, of course.
Something interesting about this movie right off the bat that I didn't realize going in, which I think you did, was that potentially a whole world is going to be made around Kong and Godzilla and some other...
That is confirmed. That is a thing.
Right.
That is, yeah, and so they're building, I think they're calling it the Monsterverse, or there's a word for it. But yeah, they're going to essentially make a franchise cinematic universe based upon these huge monster films. The first one, I guess, I don't think it was meant to really create this. Maybe it was. I could be wrong. Was Godzilla, which came out in 2014.
But that opened the doors to this one.
And now we have Kong Skull Island, just was released this year, and there are some subtle things that hint towards Godzilla, or Godzilla and Kong meeting and things furthering.
I didn't even
One
realize.
thing that we missed that I kind of looked up otherwise, and one thing that I noticed. I only have two that I can bring up. Maybe we'll get into that in just a minute, maybe.
Okay.
But so this movie obviously came out this year. It's directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts. I probably pronounced Vogt incorrectly. You might remember him as the guy who directed The Kings of Summer, which is like a nice little indie slice of life film.
It's a not bad movie.
It's a good movie. It continues the trend of indie directors going on to direct huge big budget blockbusters.
Because that's what happens these days.
The guy who did, Monsters, ended up doing Godzilla, ended up doing Rogue One. The guy who did Safety Not Guaranteed ended up doing Jurassic World. Will now also do a Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was
it's this weird thing now where they hire these indie directors who probably doesn't want the work and just want a shot to make a bigger and better movie and end up making pretty great films. Because I don't think Hollywood can rely on the good old guys anymore, it seems like. Which honestly is fair enough.
They're trying to spawn a new generation of directors in their sort of heavy blockbuster vibe. But
I don't think it's a bad thing, honestly, to be honest. If anything, it's a little more exciting to see where these directors will take these films.
It's cool to see some maybe not so well recognized directors getting some big chances if they want them.
I want Jonathan Glazer.
See Hollywood even giving them.
I want Jonathan Glazer to do a Transformers film. The guy who directed Under the Skin. I want to do a Transformers film. That's what I want.
Oh God.
Maybe in a perfect world, or like Barry Jenkins can do like. I don't know. The Gem and the Holograms reboot. I don't know. It could be fun.
But
anyways,
sorry. The one thing I wanted to bring up when I mentioned Kong and the multiple worlds or the monster worlds that we are going to be seeing into the future here is that this is a trend that we're seeing with a lot of different movie types.
The verse.
Is the verse idea where the Mummy's being rebooted and they're making potentially the Swamp Thing and all kinds of other. They're creating a world.
Dracula, bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
So a fucking superhero movie's released and it's gotta be, God forbid, it's not connected to another fucking superhero movie to make a superhero verse. It is
interesting that way, isn't it?
So yeah, it's weird. It's like we're creating. It's like it's not enough to just create a movie or a sequel and you know what I mean? It's not enough these days. It's like this fucking Hollywood is almost so greedy where it's like we're going to create a whole fucking endless world around anything we can possibly milk out of this potential franchise.
I know one movie that we can blame directly for that, and it's the Avengers. Like that's why these exist now. Because they for sure. They built it up in the way that they were always teasing towards that big final team assembling together. Yeah, your Iron Man, your Thor, your
Nick Fury's putting together a crew,
which I think was at the end of the very first Iron Man. I think it was.
Yeah, they fucking right from the get go of these superhero movies they were building it. Yeah,
I guess. I was gonna bring this up later, but we might as well now. That is what we actually missed watching Kong Skull Island. Is that there's an after credit scene.
Was there?
And it kind of has this cave drawings of Godzilla and some other monsters. And Kong as well, apparently, I think. I saw a shot. And so that is kind of the teaser. The other teaser is that the Monarch Foundation, the company that they mentioned in this movie, that is actually a pretty big plot point of the film, is also relevant and seen in Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
So
and we both haven't seen Godzilla. Like,
I've seen it recently, actually.
Oh,
I watched Godzilla. Honestly, very boring film.
Yeah.
It's super boring.
I thought about it. It was like the other night I was looking at movies. I was like, what am I going to watch? I'm not sure. Am I going to watch Patterson or am I going to watch fucking Godzilla?
Two very polar opposite choices, but I respect that.
Landed on Patterson. Let's just say.
That's cool. I mean, Godzilla... I will flat out say that, like, Kong does what I wish Godzilla would have done in a way. Like, Godzilla didn't really have that fun, like... kind of balls out sensibility to it, which Kong does. Kong also doesn't have that, in my opinion, a lot in some ways. Like, I don't know. We'll get into the plot a little bit movie first. So, basically, this movie is just about the Skull Island in a sense, really. And we have John Goodman trying to get his research further realized and go to these places that he wants to explore, where they have these crazy creatures and the scientific discoveries that he wants to basically do research for and prove to the U.S. government that they do exist. And so he asks for, I guess, funding, essentially, or like just...
Yeah, he's asking for funding from some military-associated government.
Yeah, or like a senator or something. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
Somebody who has, has the controlling
It's played by the dad from Step Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so you have John Goodman assembling a team, which honestly is where this movie is weird for me. Like, there's a good 20 minutes of them just trying to get the team together to go to this island. It's kind of weird. Anyways, whatever.
They have to, it's like they establish a character that has been in the war and is kind of a badass in some way or another, and they have to bring him into that somehow.
Tom Hiddleston.
They have this sort.
That's our Avengers connection, actually.
Yeah, there you go, Loki.
Yeah.
So
I will say, I actually liked him in this movie. I usually don't.
I thought I was gonna like him a lot less. I think he still ended up being maybe one of my least favorite characters because he seemed just there, but
he was all right though.
He wasn't bad.
To be fair, I don't see him in a lot of stuff. He's a pretty high-profile actor, but I feel like he doesn't do too much.
Fun fact, the last movie I saw him in was, what's it called? The Heights?
High Rise. Right. That's like but like before that, I guess Loki? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw him in High Rise too. That movie was okay. It was all right.
I mean, I guess you could say he's keeping a low-key profile.
All right, anyways, moving swiftly on here. He assembles a team, including Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, and Brie Larson.
Brie Larson being a photographer,
yes.
Tom Hiddleston being the tracker.
He's a mapper, what do they call him?
Yeah, he's like a tracker.
Yeah, they're trying to...
And then Samuel L. Jackson being the military option or the military escort.
And it's placed during the Vietnam War, and so also soldiers from that war are asked to, because the war's ended, they asked them to come join this expedition.
Yes.
So we kind of have the stage set, along with some scientists from Goodman's company Monarch to assist the process.
Yeah, there's like, we get the impression there's more than this, but there's about like 4 or 5 that we actually meet, and about 3 that are more of the sort of key.
Yeah,
group.
There's a geologist and a biologist, and they're kind of his associates, I guess.
Yeah, that's the...
Yeah, so whatever. Anyways, they go to the island, and this is where the movie kind of starts to really show... I guess it's true colors. I mean, more what the movie's about. More what the thing is trying to set the stage for after we get all this like exposition. And immediately what I do like is you kind of see Kong right away. They come in there with their
they're in choppers.
Their military, they're choppers, and they have their weapons and their bombs and shit. And Kong appears right away. I don't necessarily... I don't think we should spoil too much more than that.
No,
obviously we'll say Kong's in the movie. It's quite obvious.
Yeah.
And the only thing maybe I'll say is... While they're there, they meet John C. Reilly, who is a man who's been there for 28 years and has learned all about Skull Island and is really kind of their tour guide to help them really understand the island and understand what's going on.
Yeah, and again, this isn't a spoiler. It's something that's revealed in the trailer.
Yeah, it's in the
we know that John C. Reilly's around and has been around on this island for quite some time. We don't know if he's there with anyone, if there's any other people on the island based on the trailer, but I think a key point to the plot is to say that John Goodman's character is a person who has been in the battle of seeking recognition of these monsters he believes to have discovered.
He has his own personal reasons why he wants to be there.
Yes, and so he has this sort of personal vendetta for bringing the team alongside. So there's this clashing opinion between the military were on a mission from Samuel L. Jackson's perspective with John Goodman's perspective of, I have a personal vendetta I need to fill and bring home. His personal vendetta is, I need to fucking bring home evidence so I can prove all these people wrong that have been, making fun of me for years. And Samuel L. Jackson is, I'm here to fulfill a fucking mission, and that's it.
Like a strict military perspective.
And so I'd say those are some contributing plot ideas, and that
that's most of the plot, honestly. I'd say
that's kind of, you could see how maybe those butt heads or maybe those ideas contribute to each other or clash or whatever.
I think a lot of this movie is just really talking about environmentalism and respecting the grounds you're on, and also paying tribute to really where you are, and not
there's
really,
some elements of that for sure.
And not taking something for your own without really understanding what you're taking, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that would be the take home or the deeper meaning behind
the lesson, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I think flat out I'll say you enjoyed this movie a bit more than I did, I think.
I did really like this movie.
So what did you like about it mostly?
I really liked the fight scene with Kong towards the end. I thought that was pretty badass. I specifically liked John C. Reilly. I mean, maybe I'm just a sucker for him in general, but the guy was fucking funny, and he was weird. He's good in
Boogie Nights, right? He's good in Boogie Nights.
But he was very weird. He was different. He said some fucking odd things at times, but I think after sitting on it, I think I'm overall into it.
You're into it. I think I'm not necessarily against this movie. In fact, I liked it, but my issue with it is that the tone is all over the place, I feel like. Especially with a lot of the performances and maybe just the tone in general. It's very goofy and so out there, and that shit really works for me because it's fuck, I want to see this monster movie have fun with itself and know what it is and just, have these crazy action set pieces and these awesome, visuals and silly one-liners that are happening, and then out of nowhere it's this really serious tone.
Yeah, and you know what? I gotta say, maybe it's the way the actors work together, and not necessarily Brie Larson's great. Tom Hiddleston we liked.
Well, Brie Larson's always great. That show fails as far as I'm concerned.
And
shout out to her grandparents who live in Saskatoon. Actually, that's a fun fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. That is nice. And John C. Reilly, those three characters are great, and Samuel, all four of those guys are great.
Right, yes.
But I feel like maybe together they're not that good. Well, or maybe it's the way they work together on set, or the way they were brought together.
There's just too much happening, I think, more or less. They're all kind of coming from different sides, and I understand that they're from different backgrounds. That makes sense, but they never really move together well. They don't mush together well. They kind of stay.
I would totally agree with you.
They stay in their opinions, and that's fine. That makes a lot of sense. But to let a film progress. Okay, well, I would say maybe Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston kind of work together well, I would say. But the rest of the cast kind of clashes in a lot of ways. To be fair, they shine really well in a lot of ways, and there's some really good lines and really good moments. Samuel, again,
I want to bring up, there was coming out of the movie, I liked it a little bit more than you did. We had a couple of different
John C. Reilly,
viewpoints. John C. Reilly.
He, for me, it was, it's weird. He's honest, I'm not still fully... I can't quite fully develop my thought on him. More or less, I think he was the best character, but also the worst character at the same time, and I don't know what to think.
Right, and you'd mentioned that before, but what I wanted to bring up was some common ground that we both thought needed to happen. Was there is some locals on this island, and
it's not developed at all.
I mean, they're there for a fucking split second. They pose for a couple of weird pictures with Brie Larson. Which honestly is
a little bit insensitive in a way, I have to say.
It's insensitive, and it's also just fucking weird and out of place.
Well, and that's the thing. It's in some ways that fits in this movie, and in other ways it doesn't.
Well, it depends on the direction they wanted to take it in, but instead they just took it both, right? And
but I almost feel like if this movie was cut differently, maybe it would flow better.
Right.
It's like a lot of these things work well together. But it's a serious moment, a goofy moment, a goofy moment, a goofy moment, a serious moment, and it just...
Yeah.
I mean, in some movies, that kind of mapping or, criteria can work well, but in this case, for me, it doesn't. But more or less, I don't want to dwell on that too much. More or less, I do think the performances are strong, even though John C. Reilly, I think, is outright annoying sometimes, but outright hilarious other times. And so I'm really torn on what to fully think of him. And
I could see how you would feel that way about him in a couple scenes, for sure.
But I do like him. Yeah. I like that he's there, and I like that how. I generally like when the movie doesn't take itself too seriously, because I think it's easier to have fun that way. I mean, if you look at the last King Kong from 2005 with Jack Black and Nicole Kidman, it works in a lot of ways, and actually Jack Black is fucking awesome in that movie. But at the end of the day, it's like the movie was more about Jack Black rather than it was Kong. And in this movie, they did a good balance of figuring that out. So they had a balance between Kong, like Kong had a personality and a character. Yeah, and I like that. So I mean, I think they're building on something strong here, and I think bringing the worlds together could create something pretty interesting. Right. I'm left a little impressed but underwhelmed. I'll put it that way.
Okay, my biggest fear, I guess, is... Okay, so imagine we have... so we've got the Godzilla movie, we've got the Kong movie. Right. Now imagine we've got, the next big one, whatever it is, the Loch Ness Monster. I don't fucking know.
Or it could be like a versus. I think that's what they're hinting at, is it's going to be like a Kong versus Godzilla.
So let's say it is a versus. And in that case, my worst fear would be that they bring in all the characters from Godzilla and all the characters from Kong, and now they've got so many fucking characters that they don't know what to do with or how to bring them together, because that seemed to be the flaw of this movie.
I think you're totally right about that. Although one thing I can say is that this movie's set in the 70s, whereas Godzilla's based in modern day.
Oh yeah, the 70s, I guess. Yeah,
it's based in modern day. So I make the assumption that
time has passed. Some of them have moved on,
or it could be Godzilla from the 70s, right? So, and this might follow into your fear where all this shit's happening. It's like, what the fuck, or. I kind of hope they take the modern approach where maybe they just choose one of the storylines and work the other one in well. I don't know. But that's a good fear. That's an accurate fear to have. I mean, we've seen a film already fail at this, and we'll probably fail again. Batman v Superman, and then we're going to have the Justice League later this summer. But in all fairness, I don't think Kong Skull Island is a bad movie. I just think it has... I think maybe the script and the pacing of the film are the only things I have issues with. Otherwise, the visuals and the action scenes are really fucking entertaining.
And the world building.
Honestly, like, if they just made another movie based around Skull Island, I'd be sold. Like, I really think that. I think that world's really cool. It reminded me of. Cool. I really want to title this movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kong. Or no, Honey, I Shrunk the Spy Kids 2, Island of Lost Dreams.
Oh, fuck.
Because does this movie now remind you of Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams? Because it does to me. Anyways, fuck it.
Like, it doesn't necessarily come to mind.
It's all these goofy monsters that show up out of nowhere. And I'm pretty sure that one beast with the horns, like the kind of like mammoth-looking beast, is a straight-up Princess Mononoke ripoff.
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay. But, like, I mean, overall, I think it is a kind of a creative and inspired take on the Kong series. And honestly... the trailer looked badass based on the visuals, but I will say they impressed me on how they built the world, like you were talking about.
Yeah, the world building's good. There's a couple of things that fall short in this movie, and that's my biggest gripe with it is there's only a couple of things that really fall short. It feels like there's a couple of elements if they were fixed.
You like this movie quite a bit, so what would you say fell short for you?
Well,
the villagers.
Yeah, there needed to be a little bit more villagers seen. The characters needed to work better together. It seemed I'm on par with you saying the tone was a little bit weird. I think we're pretty much on the same page for the most part. I just happen to like it overall, I had a better time with it. But I mean, my biggest gripe is that there's not a lot wrong with it. There's just a couple of you know what I mean? There's a few points that really needed to be hit that needed to hit harder, and if that happened, this could have been a great movie. Totally. And that's my biggest gripe is like, okay, guys, we're so fucking close. Like, what does it take to get there? Like, can we see? This feels like it's not a half-assed movie. It's a three-quarter-assed movie. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think a lot of that is the tone. To me, at least, I think if this movie could figure out where to fill in those gaps and where to take things silly but not too silly and serious but not too serious, like the ending of this movie, like the end credit scene of this movie is fucking stupid in my opinion. And it's like, it's supposed to be funny but serious. It's like, that to me, that describes why this movie's wrong. If they were to figure that out, I really think we'd have a really entertaining blockbuster here. That being said, I do think, honestly, like, taking away from it, like, this movie takes a lot of awesome influences from, like, Apocalypse Now or Platoon, and really it's kind of a war film in a way, or it's kind of like an anti-war film in a way, I would kind of say, to a degree.
Coming out of war, and it's
really looking at the psychology of a person of war, and, you know, how people interact in war, and, you know, if you're foreign lands and things like that.
And that could be cool. And certainly, they just need to simplify the tone of this because it's taking on too much. It's like it's post-war, it's anti-war. Is it pro-war? Is it analyzing the people in war? Is it fucking, you know, a comedy? Is it an action movie? Is it serious? Is it like, what the fuck is it?
Or at least have two really clear opposing opinions, because face value, the movie has those two opinions, like you were talking about with you know,
John Goodman's character and Samuel.
Exactly. But the characters in between kind of confuse those ideas.
Yeah, totally. And they come from all in between, and it needs a little bit better contrast. And so they simplify the tone. They get a little bit better contrast. That could contribute to a much better movie overall. You know, I think that's the basics of it. I mean, should we bring up the scene at the end just a little bit, or should we? That's maybe a little bit. No, we'll leave that.
I think because like that's a really good scene to watch, and I think I don't know. I think maybe I might just leave it there, to be honest, because I think this movie is something worth checking out, and I would go see it if you haven't seen it already, because I think it's honestly a better movie than it kind of needed to be in some ways. I just think it really took a really creative direction with the film and it started off really well and it worked really well, but I'll say it once, twice, three times, the tone of the film got mixed up, and by the end of it, I left the theater not really knowing how to feel.
Yeah, it lost its footing somewhere along the way.
And so, yes, I will give a recommendation, but a soft recommendation. And I also will just say, go watch Logan, because that's the best movie in theaters right now.
I'm in agreeance in both cases.
Logan's a tight fucking film. You guys haven't seen it, go check it out. Anyways,
Logan, Kong, both good movies. Yeah. Logan maybe trumping a little bit, but we'll look forward to hearing that from you in the comments, I guess.
In all fairness, I am excited for this Monsterverse. I think this leaves room for something interesting, and I think that's what this movie was trying to accomplish, and it did it. So I'll give it that.
I agree.
Also, we started a letterbox. So you guys use Letterboxd, letterboxd.com/a second viewing. I'll put it in the show notes. You can check out some movies we've seen this year, and like this really short, like 3 out of 5 star ratings or 0 out of 5 star ratings, whatever we give. You can take a look at those, and I wrote a small thing on Kong Skull Island. You guys can take a look at that. Anyways, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video, all that shit. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and whatever the fuck we have, Instagram, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
If you're listening on SoundCloud, share with a friend, follow us. You know how to do it. Anyways, I'm Kyle.
I'm Dan.
See you guys next week.